कुंज बिहारी जय राधा। गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यमुना तीर वनचारी। यमुना तीर वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी राधा। गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यमुना तीर वनचारी। यमुना तीर वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। श्रीमद् भागवत महापुराण की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। Hare Krishna. I'd like to welcome all of you. We are continuing from yesterday's discussion from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 1, chapter 18, chapter entitled Parikshit cursed by a Brahmana boy, and there is text 30. So I'll recite the verse, read the translation purport, and we'll continue our discussion. Satu Brahma Risher Amshe Gatasum Uragam Rusha Vinirgachan Dhanushkotya Nidhaya Puramahagataha. Translation. While leaving the king being so punished, I'll read one second. While leaving the king being so insulted, picked up a lifeless snake with his bow and angrily placed it on the shoulder of the sage. Then he returned to his palace. Purport. The king thus treated the sage tit for tat, although he was never accustomed to such silly actions. By the will of the Lord, the king, while going away, found a dead snake in front of him, and he thought that the sage who had coldly received him thus might be coldly rewarded by being offered a garland of a dead snake. In the ordinary course of dealing, this was not very unnatural. But in the case of Maharaj Parikshit's dealing with the Brahmana sage, this was certainly unprecedented. It so happened by the will of the Lord. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamaiham Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guraho Shri Utah Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनः सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामीन इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानु सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्प तरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंगायते गिरिं यत्कृपा तमहं वन्दे श्री Guru Dina Tarinam. So happy to be with all of you. Very grateful that you're allowed me to be in your association. I was looking for the blessings of Rai Sachinand yesterday, but because I was impudent enough to begin yesterday's discussion without even checking on with him, that's why Krishna sent him before me today, and he was waiting outside that this guy will need blessings surely today. Right? Yeah, see, he showed me his hand like that. He just now showed me his hand like that. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for being here. So, yesterday we were discussing on this purport. Srila Prabhupada commenting on the king's behavior. Prabhupada said he was never accustomed to such silly actions. Prabhupada says this behavior of tit for tat. He treated the sage tit for tat. So, those of you who were there yesterday, if you can help me recollect what was the discussion, anything that you can remember from yesterday's discussion, if you could share something. Okay, we discussed few reasons of why we behave, why we end up doing tit for tat. Why do we behave like that? Okay, yes. Anything else? Mhm. Mm. Okay, the scene was that Parikshit Maharaj felt that I should not have been treated like this. Right? So what did he end up doing? He picked up a dead snake because Parikshit Maharaj thought if the guest has come, at least a garland could have been offered. That's traditional way of receiving guests. And he was the king. And the sage didn't do anything. He didn't even move. So the king decided, okay, if I was not treated well, then I will pay back in the same coin. He didn't give it the garland to me. I will offer garland. And what was the garland? That was a dead snake lying there. Just picked it. Nobody would do it. No sane person would ever behave like that. But Parikshit Maharaj did this. Right? Okay. Anything else that you could? Yes. Okay. Can you help us recollect any of it? Yes. Draupadi and Karna. Draupadi and Duryodhan also we discussed. Yes. Anything else? Amba, the big one, the big story, right? What happened to Amba we discussed for a long time today. I read something from Mahabharata also. How Amba went through that cycle tit for tat. She goes through and okay, one more pastime that I connected to Parikshit Maharaj, the cow and the bull, right? And Parikshit Maharaj talking to the bull, the divine personalities who appear to, generally cow or a bull does not speak to humans. But this cow and bull were like nobody but none other than but Dharma and Mother Earth. And they are talking. And Parikshit Maharaj inquired from Dharma, who did this to you? Who has put you through this suffering? And Kali personified is standing right next to the bull with a sword in his hand. And still astonishing, why Parikshit Maharaj is asking such a question? He could have just straight away punished. No, no, no. Parikshit Maharaj wanted to hear the statement of accusation. Right? He wanted to take that. But Dharma says, no, sorry. I'm not going to point out. I'm not going to pinpoint who is the cause of my suffering. And Dharma says, ultimately, you can never ascertain who is the cause of your suffering. Some people in knowledge, some gyanis, they will say, oh, your karma is the cause. Your past actions are the cause. Some say, oh, ultimately material nature is the cause. Somebody will say, oh, it's all illusion. Right? Ultimately, it's just illusion. It's all zero, shunya. It's all zero. Nothing happened to you. Right? So many people will, and he especially, Dharma gives 7 reasons, 7 causes why he would not find, he would not point out anybody. Then the fox and the crane story. We discussed that. The fox and the crane to begin with. Yes. I'm sorry for that. Should not ring. Sorry. Chitraketu Maharaj story also. A little bit we discussed that as well. Right? Okay. So today we are here. Now I will complete the presentation today, and we will discuss something on the solutions part. What do we do? Right? He yesterday kept all it. I'm still not able to accept. Right? Okay. So now with Amba's story, right? When Amba does that tit for tat, right? Okay, Bhishma is responsible for what I had to go through, right? Who ended up hurting oneself? It was Amba. Amba hurt herself by just holding on that grudge. I have to take revenge. So Dharma told Parikshit Maharaj that when you point out somebody, the perpetrator, when it's pointed out, right, what happens? The person pointing out the perpetrator gets the same reaction. Right? It's like if I point out who murdered, I get the reaction of what the murderer would have got otherwise. Imagine just by pointing it out. How does that happen? We find in Amba's story, Amba feels that I have been hurt. Right? Bhishma is responsible for my hurt. And then what happens? Now she wants to hurt. she ends up becoming what she was not liking at the first place. You don't like anyone hurting you, but the tit for tat game, what happens? You end up becoming what you were hating. You did what you did not like in the other person. So, first of all, this process of tit for tat, what happens is the person experiencing the hurt, like that somebody misbehaved, somebody did not talk to me properly, right? The first thing that the person does is the person, thinks of intention of the other person, right? Like whoever has hurted me, I just don't look at their actions. I go and first of all think of what must have been the intention of that person. And it's very difficult to generally, it's very difficult to judge, somebody's intentions. Like we all may have experienced somebody speaks to us in a way that was not likable. We start thinking, kyun bola hoga? What must have happened? What must he be thinking? He or she may be thinking, right? We go to intention, which is very difficult to judge sometimes, like I'm saying, and then we start cooking stories about it. Must have been like this, and 2 days back, and the last interaction that we had. So the mistake that the person does is we first judge their intentions, and then we cook stories about it. And we just don't cook stories. We love to go and talk about it to many. You know what happened? You know what this person did to me? And that story, gets fluffed, and that story goes beyond a situation where it's like a new version has come out of it. Versions come out of it. And when we hold on to these stories, what happened? Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. Whatever you remember at the point of death, Krishna will help you fulfill that desire. So Amba takes another birth, right? As Shikhandi, remembering the past, right? So when I experience, misbehavior, when I experience a situation, right? Before I go into the tit for tat, right? But when Prabhupada is saying silly behavior, I commit these mistakes. I kind of cast aspersions on somebody's intention. Why this person may have done it? And then I start cooking. How many of you would like if somebody cooks stories about you behind your back? Right? We would not like it, but that's what we do, right? And we keep on thinking, and then we say, now action must be taken. Who's there around? Nobody. Like we find Parikshit Maharaj, what did he do when he did not receive proper treatment from the sage? Parikshit Maharaj thinks, oh, because I'm a Kshatriya and this guy is a Brahmana, he doesn't want to respect me. The sage didn't do anything. The sage didn't say anything like that. But this was Parikshit Maharaj's thought, right? So I should do something about it now, right? And then the boys who were playing, the young boys, they were playing around and they observed the snake around Shamik Rishi's neck. They go to the river and they tell Shringi, Parikshit Maharaj was here. He put a snake around your father's neck. The snake has bit your father and your father is dead because we saw he doesn't move. And what did Shringi think of it now? This mistake, this action of Parikshit Maharaj. Shringi thinks, oh, these Kshatriyas, they're supposed to be like dogs waiting at the door, right? They are supposed to be eating what we Brahmanas have left off, right? But these dogs have become impudent. Now they want to come near the area where the yajna is happening. What is supposed to be offered in the yajna, this dog is stealing away. See, nothing like that. Parikshit Maharaj did not think like this. But this was all that was going on Shringi's mind. Right? What must be the intention behind what he did? Parikshit Maharaj never thought it like that. But where does this tit for tat stop? Parikshit Maharaj's story is in Bhagavatam, because after this, Parikshit Maharaj decides, no, I want to stop this cycle right here. Okay, if I can. What happens in the story is Shringi comes back to the to the house, to the home, or whatever the hermitage they had, and Shringi starts crying. When the son starts crying, the sage comes out of his meditation. What happened? Oh, you are alive. Yes, I am alive. Wow. The son comes and it comes to the Jinda hai? No, Jinda hai. Hey, I was meditating. Why are you saying Jinda hai? Right? Snake. Oh, nikal diya. Abhi, what happened? Shringi keeps on crying. What happened? And he tells him the whole story. I have already pronounced the curse for Parikshit Maharaj to die within 7 days. And Shamik Rishi feels so sorry. He tells Shringi, because of a Vaishnava king like Parikshit Maharaj, you have such a power that a small boy like you can curse. And now this curse has to come to pass. Now what to do? Shamik Rishi calls for another disciple of his and he tells him, go to Hastinapur and inform Parikshit. This is what has happened. And he can take any action on my son. Right? But what does Parikshit Maharaj do? He says, no. I have committed a mistake and there was a cascading effect of it. But I will not continue this cycle any further. I stop it here. Right? Parikshit Maharaj prays to the Lord, any reaction has to come for this. Let my subjects, let my family members not suffer. Kirtan has begun. Where were we? So Parikshit Maharaj decides, I will stop it here. What will I do? I won't counter curse. I won't take any further action on this. I accept it as reaction to my misdeeds, my own action. So what is the first effect? The first effect is that I try to judge the intention of the person involved, the other person. So this perception of threat, right? That no, somebody had wrong intention and that's why they did this to me. You find this being played very well by Manthara in Ramayana. Manthara, she comes to Kaikeyi and she tells Kaikeyi the news. Ram is going to be enthroned tomorrow. And Kaikeyi is so happy. She takes one of the best necklaces that she has and she gives it to Manthara. Keep it for getting such a good news to me. And Manthara tells her, oh, you're so foolish. Right? Why? Why do you say that? Why am I foolish? And Manthara tells her that if Ram becomes the king, then Kaushalya will become the queen mother. What's the problem? Very nice. Ram is king, Kaushalya is the queen mother now. And then Manthara says, but then Ram will become dear to Dashrath Maharaj. And because Ram is dear means Kaushalya will become dear. Then you will become like the second fiddle. Then you will not be given so much importance. Right? And Kaushalya will, order you around. All this will happen. And Kaikeyi's intelligence goes for a toss after that. And what does she end up doing? Manthara reminds her, oh, the two boons that you had. To the point that she's going to ask, she knows that Dashrath Maharaj will not be able to handle this. She doesn't care. She doesn't care at all. But because this perception, right, that Kaushalya's intentions, nothing has happened now. But Kaikeyi listens to it. Oh, this is what Kaushalya would do with me. She begins, right? So this perceived threat, right, that Manthara plays around with it. So Parikshit Maharaj also feels, oh, what was his perception? This sage wanted to hurt me or disrespect me. On that basis, Parikshit Maharaj decided, I will hurt the sage. Then Shringi sees, oh, the king has hurt my father, or literally killed my father. So Shringi decides, now I will hurt the king, right? So what happens is there's an escalation at each step. In the tit for tat cycle, it's not 1:1. It escalates. What Parikshit did to the sage was not as bad as what Shringi did, right? So it keeps on escalating. But Parikshit Maharaj's name is in Srimad Bhagavatam because he did not allow it to escalate any further. He decided it has to be stopped at some point, and this is the point. I don't do it any further, right? Like in my school, I had in my textbook, I don't know how many of you studied in India and the CBSE board, right? And we had a book called Read for Pleasure in our primary school. And it's a very small story. Two goats, there's small, very, very narrow bridge. Two goats, they have to, cross the bridge. But when they come around like that, in front of each other, now what do the goats do generally? Whenever they come across each other, they behave as if it's going to be a world war, the next world war. Right? So Chanakya gives a very good verse for this. He says, Ajayuddhe Munishradhe Pratah Megha Dambaram. Prabhupada would quote this often. Why would Prabhupada quote this? Prabhupada quotes this often in his lectures and in his conversation. Prabhupada says, don't expect too much out of these situations. Right? Don't over expect. Kuch hone wala nahi. Nothing big will happen. Where Ajayuddhe means when the two goats fight, right? It seems like big deal, but and the goats go away. Over. Therefore, fighting is over. Then Munish Radhe, when Munis or sages are calling you, if you get a invitation for Shraddha, don't expect a huge feast. What will you get is what they eat is some roots and berries. That's all they will feed you. Then the Prataha Megha Dambaram. Early morning when the clouds, the huge sound, the rumbling of the clouds, you can go out for your work. Don't expect rains. Nothing will happen here. The last of the example is very important. Chanakya says, similarly, Dampatya Kalaha, fight between husband and wife. Don't take it too seriously. What happens is generally the whole village will get into that affair. And the husband and wife, they will settle off and go away. And a whole village is fighting. What was the real thing? What was the real reason? That reason is no more there around. They will both settle off. Somehow that will get settled off. But the whole village is now fighting. So Chanakya says, don't take these things seriously. Which things? Ajayuddhe, Munishradhe, Pratah Megha Dambaram and Dampatya Kala. But just think of it. How many courts, how many cases, right? Just for a little, some fight happens. One devotee was talking to me recently. So he was telling me that one lady, she shared her experience. She just ended up telling a relative who happened to be a lawyer. She told this relative that, between me and my husband, something is going on. We are not able to, adjust, and there's something going on. And this relative told her, you want divorce? She said, I never said divorce. Don't worry. I can get you 1 crore once a year. 30%, I'll keep 70%. What's going on? What are you talking about? Imagine such huge businesses, big, huge lawyer firms nowadays. But Chanakya is saying, don't take it serious. Don't give it too much seriousness. This will settle off in time, right? So, why I gave that example was Parikshit Maharaj decided, I'll stop it here. I won't escalate it any further. Why should we not escalate? That's what Dharma said to Parikshit Maharaj. So Dharma, when Parikshit Maharaj asked question to Dharma, Dharma did not answer even after being questioned. Right? And Parikshit Maharaj wanted Dharma, the bull, to point out the perpetrator. And Parikshit Maharaj, he finds that he's not going to speak. He asks questions, and Dharma says, no, no, no. If I point out the perpetrator, I'll have to take the same result as what is supposed to be, as the perpetrator is supposed to be, undergoing. So Parikshit Maharaj, in that section, most devotees also will find when they read that section, it's very difficult to accept. But it's Dharma speaking it. Parikshit Maharaj quickly understands, yes, you are not any normal bull. You must be a great personality. This was Dharma speaking there, right? So Srila Prabhupada says at one place that you can judge the people with as per the way the conversation is going on, the topic and the way it moves on, you can judge people. What is the level of the people according to their conversation? So they say, rogi se rogi mile, kare rog ki baat. To deceased people, oh, my heart problem, oh, my leg problem. And they keep on talking, this doctor, that medicine. Rogi se rogi mile, kare rog ki baat. Gyani se gyani mile, kare shastra ki baat. Two knowledgeable people, when they come together, they'll keep scriptures in front and then they talk. And murkh se murkh mile, mukka ghusa lat. Two foolish people, their conversation ends with right? So that's how it ends. But when the devotees talk, they talk about Krishna. And when they talk about their subject matter, is such, we see Parikshit Maharaj, and when Dharma is speaking, and the concepts that are being, spoken about there, Srila Prabhupada says, Arjuna could understand the entire Bhagavad Gita in 45 minutes. Karishye vachanam tava, right? And what happens to us? Only one verse, and out of that one line we realize, Rahasyam hiyataduttamam. Wow, what secret is this? Every day I open, but I can't make out anything out of it. Right? Now Krishna and Arjuna are talking 45 minutes. So such amazing discussion is going on. Right? Like Gandhiji also said, I get ever new meanings out of Bhagavad Gita. That means I don't understand anything out of it. Simply put, right? When Prabhupada gives Bhagavad Gita as it is, wonderful conclusion in parampara when you hear. But Srila Prabhupada, another place says, Gandhiji wrote experiments with truth. And Prabhupada says, you don't experiment with truth, you surrender it to truth. You don't do experiments with truth, Prabhupada says. Right? So, similarly, you find Lord Chaitanya, when he arrived at Jagannath Puri, right? When Lord Chaitanya arrived there, the guards around, they thought, oh, sentimental sannyasi. What, jumping, dancing, lying on the ground like this. And they wanted to beat Lord Chaitanya. But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya comes there and says, wait, I'm able to understand that these symptoms do not appear in the body of any mortal being. These symptoms are of an advanced personality. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya takes Lord Chaitanya to his home. And then Nityanand Prabhu, Gopinath Acharya come and they tell Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, oh, he's Krishna himself, he's God. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya says, how can you say that? I don't accept this. So the guards could see one thing, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya could see one thing, and Gopinath Acharya, he tells Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, you're not able to realize that he's Krishna himself. He says, Ishwarera kripalesha haita jahare, seita Ishwar tattva janivare tare. Oh, you need mercy of Krishna. Then you can realize Krishna. Naham prakashah sarvasya, yoga maya samavrataha, Krishna says. So, Dharma, the bull, and Parikshit Maharaj has this conversation. So the bull is saying, it's kind of hard to say who did this to me. I'm not really sure. But he gives 7 reasons why we suffer in this world. So, like I said, one of the interesting things that the bull says is that if you name the perpetrator, you become as guilty as the perpetrator. And that becomes a huge thing to digest. Very difficult thing to digest. Just by pointing out, somebody does wrong to me, and I point out, this is the guy. I get the same punishment. How does that happen? it does not make sense at all to most people. But Bhagavatam is presenting it, and Parikshit Maharaj says, yes, you are correct. We'll try to discuss now. From here, let me go to the solution part. What is the harm? We become like the person who is hitting us. Somebody hits me, I point out. Very soon, that tit for tat cycle, if it begins, I first blame the guy. You hurt me. By pointing it out, very soon what happens? When it goes out of control, then I will also start hurting the other person. I become what I accused the other person of. Right? So, like we discussed yesterday, Amba, whom did she harm? Amba harmed herself. She had to take birth after birth with the sole focus, I want to hurt. So when you carry that vengeance in your heart, that vengeance will, it will make you take birth after birth. When does it end? Like in India, we say it takes two hands to clap. Ek haath se tali nahi bachta. Similarly, when somebody does something to me, I should ask myself, why did this person behave like that? Am I anyway responsible for it? We never ask that question to ourselves. We always feel, I should not, I should not have been mistreated like this. So, eko bahunam yo vidadhati kaman. If this is the desire we live with, right? Okay, I'll tell you a small story. One time, an old man, old father was about to die. He called his sons and he said, I am giving this part of the property to you, something the other guy is getting, something the third son was given. Everyone was given something out of his property. And the father said, but one thing I'm giving to all of you, right, equally, and carry it along. What is that? You know our enemy, the next door neighbor, he's our enemy. My father had the same relationship. I continued, right? You three also continue. Virasat mein kya diya? Animosity, right? This is what we hand it over. What will happen to this father when he's dying? Krishna will fulfill his desire. Again, he will take birth. Again, to continue what? That tit for tat cycle, right? So, rather than thinking of Krishna, if we are thinking of, what happened to me, who did what to me, if this is what my desire is at the point of death, right? What happens? This is what I will, I'll take birth to again for that, to take out that vengeance. Now imagine in the world of internet, people just don't talk to themselves, talk to somebody as friend. They write blogs. They will post it. You know what has happened? And like one devotee came to me and one time said, Prabhuji, that temple in India, there this problem is happening. I'm so worried about it. I said, what happened? Who has asked you to get involved? That temple, something is going on. But the world of internet is such that people writing, and somebody writing about one's experience, millions of people reading that experience and then connecting it to their lives. Imagine the karma cycle in this world, in Kali Yuga, it has become so severe because of this mass, how do I call it? Prajalpa, right? So, okay. Okay, I'll go to step 1 now. I said 4-step solution for this tit for tat cycle. The step 1 is, let us look at the concept of justice. Whenever the first step in justice in any civilized society, it is called due process. Has due process been done? And what is due process? The due process is, first of all, asking oneself this question: am I sure that I am right about my perception here? Right? Am I right here? Right? So Parikshit Maharaj was convinced that the sage has hurt him, that he intended to hurt him. But was Parikshit Maharaj wrong? Did the sage intend to hurt Parikshit Maharaj? But that's what he thought. The sage had not hurt him, right? Actually, the sage did not do anything at all. Okay, now the sage was in trance. He wasn't even aware that Parikshit Maharaj is around. The first reaction of Parikshit Maharaj is he didn't follow the due process there. What did he do? He first of all thought, this guy must be faking it. He's not in trance. He's faking it. He just doesn't want to offer respect to a Kshatriya. Right? So the first response when somebody hurts us should be, am I sure that I am right about what am I perceiving here? My judgment here. Am I right? You find Shringi also. Where did Shringi go wrong? In Hindi, they say, Aao dekha na tao. He did not even consider. Parikshit Maharaj must have he intended to harm, and he actually wanted, he has killed my father. So, asking this question to oneself, whenever somebody does something to us, am I sure that I'm right about my perception? Right? So, generally we think, this guy must be envious about me. This guy must be, wanting my position. This person hates me. I knew it. And this is why this has been done. Right? So, first step is due process. Find out the true story behind it, behind the whole situation. And like, if I can say it in a way. Okay. When you happen to be the part of the problem, right? You are the one who has committed some mistake, some harm to somebody. What do you expect? At least hear my side, hear my story, hear what happened. Why did I do this? Right? Just as you want to be heard, right? In situations like this, we should ask ourselves, did I hear the other side of the story? So due process means you don't cook your own stories first. Stop it there. Don't perceive, don't create perceptions. I'm sorry. Don't create perceptions. And the second mistake is we create our own stories. And the third mistake there is in the due process is I don't hear the story, the other side. I don't hear that. Sachinandan Swami Maharaj gives a very nice example for this in one of his classes. He says, I was giving a class and I was like quite, into that class. And I was trying to explain things, but I found that some people were constantly talking. And he was in a country where some different language was being spoken by these people. And the calm, the humble person that he is, Maharaj says that while giving the lecture, I was thinking, how rude, how bad, why should they talk? But there was no way that I could have stopped them. But Maharaj says at the end of the lecture, I asked, why were they talking? And I was told, no, Maharaj, they were translating your lecture in the local language. And the entire of the lecture, I was thinking, how rude are they to be talking like that in between. So Maharaj says, if only I could have heard their side. If I could have just asked, what's going on there? Oh, they're translating. Okay, that was okay. And then I could have given the whole lecture, right? Peacefully. So the first step is any process of justice is due process should be followed. Before we create our own perceptions, before we create some stories behind it. And also part of the process of justice is you hear the other side, right? Their story. Okay. Now the second step number 2 that should be taken. Step number 3 is where Draupadi comes in, which I said yesterday, right? Step number two is, right? You follow the due process. You discover that the other side is wrong, right? They are envious. They wanted to hurt you. Second step is, does that still mean that the other person should be punished? What does it mean? The step 2 is to ask, who has the right to punish? Right? Generally, who has the right to punish? Parents, teachers, employer, government officers, right? Some law officers. Like if you catch hold of a pickpocketer, right? What do? You should call the police. You don't take matter in your hand. Then in India, we do find too many chappal chores, pocket chores. And there was an era, I remember, this was early 2000 and all. जिसको हाथ लग गया ना, सब हाथ साफ करते थे, मजा आता था उसको मारने में. People would, but then we realized, no, wait. We should not take matters in our hand. Just because it's the temple and we feel bad that somebody's coming like this and, stealing away, chappals, footwear, or stealing away. Right? You guys cannot understand. Why should anybody do that? But yes, even that's a business there. Take away somebody's chappals and sell it off in the market. You make money out of it. Yeah. There's so many incidences like that. What do you do? The second part of the process of justice is asking oneself, who has the right to punish? Right? You cannot say, oh, I don't care, I will take matters in my hand. Right? At a spiritual level, one should ask, I'm supposed to be serving in a mood of servant. Krishna is the master and I am the servant. Jivera Swarup hoy Krishna Nityadas. Servant means I stay within the boundary of my service. So, at a level, I am not the one who is supposed to be handling this affair, the law and all other things. At another level, spiritual level, I'm supposed to be a servant. I'm supposed to be having that consciousness. If I am the servant, who am I to punish? Okay, step number 3. This is where Draupadi comes in. So, first step is follow the due process. Second thing is, the matter should be dealt by right authorities. Right? Who has the right to punish? Draupadi comes in here. This is a conversation. Step number 3 is the conversation where all the Pandavas, they're in the forest and they're having samvada. They're having discussion. And what is the discussion is about dharma. That's what you find Pandavas and all these people in Mahabharata. They keep on discussing about dharma. What does dharma say about it? What does dharma say about what should be done in such a situation? To the point when Draupadi is brought into that Asat Sabha, she's pulled in. Her questions are, what does dharma say about it? Mr. Bhishma, Mr. Drona, Mr. Vidura, my husbands. To everyone she asks about dharma only. Tell me, what is dharma here? What is the right? What is the duty here? Right? Here also you find when Pandavas are discussing, their question is, let's say you are the right authority to punish. You are in that kind of a position. Still, you do not punish every time. This is the discussion that is going on. So Draupadi, when she's asked a question, who should be punished? When should be punished? When should be one punished? Right? Draupadi says, no, you don't forgive every time and you don't punish every time. This also has to be seen. The third step. So Draupadi quotes an ancient story, a conversation between Prahlad and Vali. Right? Vali is the son of Virochan. Prahlad, Vali is asking this question to Prahlad Maharaj, his grandfather, who is the chief of the Asuras and the Danavas. Right? What is meritorious? Forgiveness or use of strength? So the question is, which is meritorious? Forgiveness or use of strength? And Prahlad Maharaj, he's answering Bali and he says, these two truths with certainty, right? He says that, oh child, these two truths with certainty, that might is not always meritorious and forgiveness also is not always meritorious. You always don't punish, and it's not necessary that you forgive every time. Right? So what does he say? Prahlad Maharaj says, one who always forgives will have to suffer many evils. Servants and strangers and enemies will always disregard him. Therefore, it is said, O child, that the learned applaud not a constant habit of forgiveness. Somebody does something wrong and you forgive, and you forgive, and you forgive. What will happen? This person will have to suffer many evils, especially the servants will commit mistakes and you can continuously forgive. Oh, they will get spoiled. Prahlad Maharaj says the servants of an ever forgiving person always disregard him and they contract numerous faults. These mean-minded men also seek to deprive him of his wealth. His sons, his wife, his family members, everyone will disregard him very soon. Because what is the mistake? He's ever forgiving. The second part. Now the demerits of those who are never forgiving. Right? He says the man of wrath who inflicts various kinds of punishment on persons, whether they deserve them or not, he very soon gets separated from his relatives and friends. Right? He says such a man, because he insults others, suffers loss of wealth and reaps disregard and sorrow and hatred and confusion, and he only cultivates enemies because he doesn't know when to forgive and when to punish. He's always punishing others. Right? So even if you are the person who holds some position to carry out justice action, you should be very careful to know when to punish, when to forgive. You don't punish every time and you don't forgive every time. So the conversation goes on. So a person in authority should take these matters into consideration before coming to a conclusion. What should be done? What sort of punishment should be given as justice? Okay, which were the 3 steps till now? Due process. If you are the authority to punish, if you have the authority to punish. And the second, the third, no, well, even if you are the authority, you don't always punish or forgive. You have to be very careful. See the situation, see the person involved. Right? Even in this world, you find, like, my brother, he was in army and he retired as a colonel. Right? So he was, and we have an army man sitting here, right here, another retired colonel. Right? And that's his army cap, his unit, Gorkha regiment. Right? So, if I'll take his example, right? When he was working, he was still, let's say he was still in the army, he was working, and please don't mind. And he's an army man, officer, and he commits a murder, let's say. Police will come, and not any policeman can come. In India, a policeman of the rank of commissioner has to come. And what will they do with him? They will only ask him, give us your belt. Right? The belt that they wear, army men. They cannot put handcuffs. He cannot be handcuffed. If he's handcuffed, that commissioner will lose his job. Even if he has been, he is guilty of murder or something. But what is checked here? Oh, his past, his service to the nation, so much. So what do? They'll only ask him, give us your service belt. If that is taken, it is as good as he is under arrest. And he cannot be carried like any other criminal. He has to be taken, with, respectfully. Right? Even when the judge will pronounce punishment, okay, another thing, he cannot be taken to normal in any courts. He only will be handled where? Army courts, not anywhere. Right? Imagine. So this is what the third step Draupadi is saying. Even if you are the person to mete out justice, to give out justice, you don't punish every time. You don't forgive every time. You look at an individual case. Step number 4, the last step that I'm going to offer here is, what is the attitude behind offering punishment? Right? Mothers, I'll ask you, when kids do some gadbad, some trouble, and you have to punish, what is your attitude behind it when you punish? What do you expect to happen? They won't do it again. Reformation. So when you punish somebody, even if you punish, what do? The attitude behind it is, what should happen? Reformation should happen. So when they'll put a criminal in the jail, the judge is not feeling, wow, I have put so many people behind bars today, right? Behind the bars. The judge, the attitude of the judge is, this person should get reformed, right? The kind of they'll offer a facility, a place. The freedom has to be restricted, but what do they want to ensure? 2 years for somebody, maybe somebody like 6 years and 10 years and 20, but that time period is decided One may say, wow, such huge, long-term punishment has been given. But the attitude behind is, this person should not commit criminal activities anymore. The person should get reformed. So what is supposed to be the benefit from the punishment? The person who is being punished, being awarded like that, that person should get reformed. So whenever anybody misbehaves with us and we feel like that this is what all should be done, first step one was, again, due process. In the due process part, I said, do not cast aspersions. Do not think, oh, do not, weave your own stories. This must be the reason. This must be this wrong attitude is behind this. You hear out the other person, their side of the story. Why did that person behave like this? Right? And Srimad Bhagavatam tells us through Brahmaji says, when bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam, anything that is happening to you is not happening by chance. Right? If this person is behaving in a certain way, you also are responsible, because this action that is being committed to you now, what is it? It is a result of your past action. When will we become responsible enough to accept that you need 2 hands for a clap? If this person is behaving like this, how am I responsible? So that's also part of the due process. The second step, number 2, was, do you have the authority to take action? Right? What do you do when you are not the authority? Don't take matters in your hand. You can give the case to the right authorities. Please deal with it. Right? Don't take the matters. Like 2 kids, they argue. One kid will slap, and the second one, no, I'll go to mama. Very good guy. This is a good guy. He understands. No, that's elder brother. I cannot, slap him. Who are the right authorities? I have to go to the parents. Right? So these steps help you. Okay. Where do they help you? To not go into the tit for tat cycle. Due process. Are you in the position of authority? And then the step number 3 was, what did Draupadi tell? You don't always punish and you don't always forgive. This situation may demand that no, there's no need to punish at this time. You could arrive at that situation, arrive at that conclusion. Even if you are in a position of authority, you don't always punish and you don't always forgive. And now you decide, yes, I have taken first 3 steps. All the 3 steps are followed. I am at the right conclusion. The 4th and important step is, now if you have to punish, if you have to take matters in your hand, what should be the attitude behind offering that punishment? That the other person should reform, should not commit the same mistake. Right? What the person being punished will not hurt oneself in future again, or the society in general. Others should not get punished. So the person meting out justice should not be doing out of personal vendetta. Right? The symbol of justice is a woman, is a blindfolded woman, right? Okay. Right. So person meting out justice should not be doing it out of personal vendetta. If you have any stake in the case, if you are the person to give out justice, if you have any stake in the case, what do? You take yourself, you recuse yourself out of it, right? But if you are going to punish, remember that the intention behind punishment should be the reformation of the person. You should not just feel happy. I punished. That's not the reason you punish, right? Okay. So Prabhupada is saying this tit for tat behavior is silly behavior. This is the reason. What is silly about it? Because you only see that particular situation and you react, and you do not follow the due process, all the steps. And more so, you forget that it has to end somewhere, this tit for tat cycle. When does it end? At least one party should say, I don't want to take rebirth. I want to finish this. Otherwise, I end up doing what I was accusing the other person of. You hurt me, and then I want to hurt you. It's the same thing. That's what Dharma is saying. You will get the same reaction. If you point out, very soon you'll go into a cycle of, get into a situation where you will start misbehaving the way the other person was, right? Okay, thank you very much. It's 8:30 and we'll stop now. Any comments? Any questions, clarifications? Yes.
So I was contemplating on the position of Dharma.
Mike?
I was contemplating on the position of Dharma, that something bad happened to Dharma by bull, by the Kali. And then Maharaj Parikshit is the authorized person. He is asking him what.
So he followed the due process. He asked.
Yeah, he is asking him. But if you compare that in a present scenario, let's say if a person house is get robbed or something, and then police came in and then they asked like, do you know that person? Did you see him? And then the other person said, no, I did not see him. Or like he hides it, and he is also guilty in the present scenario. So how can we compare that? Or how can we understand that in present scenario?
So Srila Prabhupada, his entire factory, he saw it burning in front of his eyes. Prabhupada saw it. And what did Prabhupada do? Just laughed. Prabhupada says, what is that Brahmaji's verse? Tatteno kampa susamikshamano bhunjana evatma kritam vibhagam. Prabhupada says, oh, this is what Krishna wants. So be it. Prabhupada did it. Advanced soul. He did not go out and punish who burned the factory. What is the? Just accepted it. Oh, this is what is going. This is what is happening. So you have to be at that level to be. But otherwise, at least some part of this, the whole process you follow. Don't take the matter in your hand. At least go to the right authorities and tell them. Okay, you tell them this is. But be ready, right? If you want to finish it, right? It's like this person. Let's say, put fire to the house, right? You should ask why. Why did this happen to me? I may have done something. That's why this reaction has come to me, right? What is Krishna telling Arjuna? Tam stitikshasva bharata. Learn to tolerate, right? If you are sure that you want to go back home, back to God, if you are sure that I am spirit soul, if you're sure that I'm going to take birth again, somewhere it has to stop, right? Someday it has to stop. Some lifetime it has to stop, right? Like you're talking about somebody, putting fire to the house. Srila Prabhupada just walked off the house. Nobody needed to put it on fire. He had a wife, he had children, and Prabhupada decided, I want to go to Vrindavan now. I'll take sannyas. See? What did he do? For a higher purpose, yes, I give it up. And what do we have today? Right? Prabhupada made a house in which the whole world can live. Right? A home like ISKCON. Right? So, depending on your level of consciousness, level of your advancement in Krishna consciousness, one will arrive at a decision there. Right? But yes, when Dharma is speaking, he's not lying there. Very, very true. The philosophy is very clear. He's speaking truth. If you stop it, stop it. Just stop it. I don't point out the perpetrator anymore. Right? If you're advanced enough, you will take that step. Right? Yes.
Oh, Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much for the lecture. You mentioned about Draupadi bringing up the statement about Vali and Prahlad, right? It's not always good to forgive. When is it not good to forgive?
You see, sometimes पानी सर के ऊपर से चला गया बच्चों के साथ डील करते हुए. There's a way to punish. Prabhupada has given letters. Don't beat them. Right? You should never beat children like that. But there are ways to punish. When if you tolerate anymore, the child is going to cause harm to oneself. Right? To the point, Srila Prabhupada gives his own example. Prabhupada said, as a child, I would love to go near the fan and put my finger inside table fan. Kids love to do that, right? And the parents are worried, don't do it, don't do it. And he said, my father would keep on correcting me, Prabhupada says, but I would again and again go close to the fan. Then what did my father do? He switched off the fan. And when the fan was at less speed, right, my father said, do it. Right. Whoa. All the time he was stopping me. And now he's asking me to put my finger into the fan, moving fan. Prabhupada says, I put my finger and it hit me, it hurt me, but not very hard. It's a little. Right? Oh. And then my father asked, will you put your finger again? Never. It hurt me. So his father could have said, घूमने दो, मस्त स्पीड में घुमाओ, डाल उंगली, अब करेगा. वो उंगली चला गया बच्चे का. He didn't do that, right? He was forgive. He was okay, no problem. Trying to correct him. Then the way to correct was such that my Prabhupada said, I never my finger again. Right? So when do you do it? You should know a point has reached that the person is going to hurt many others or hurt oneself very bad. Then some level of correction has to be offered. But again, check, are you the right person to correct? Right? Okay. Oh yes, sorry. I got carried away. Okay, that's just Prabhupada handled it like this. Yes. Anyone else? Jason, if you would like to give your some comment, we can hear from you. You can send the mic to him behind. Please, first you. I just shared my 2 cents.
Want to speak? Very nice lecture. Thank you for the very nice lecture and application. I'm remembering something that Vishnu Gada Prabhu told me once, from Philadelphia, Srila Prabhupada disciple. He's a pediatric child psychologist. And he talked about an experiment that was done by psychologists. Maybe some of you have heard this before. So what they did is they had people, the test subjects, at the opposite ends of a table. And to each person's hand, they connected a live wire, one through which electricity was going. And on the other hand, they put like a switch. And they said, your instruction is, when you get the shock, you can give the shock back, but it must be equal in intensity to what you've received. I think you've heard this. And what they found was almost uniformly, the person who received the painful shock applied a shock that was much greater than what they, actually got delivered. So this is an experiment which kind of demonstrated what you were talking about, is that this escalating, process of, Parikshit Maharaj puts a snake and Shringi curses to die. Where's the, the order of magnitude balance? So that was very nice to have you point that out in these pastimes as a recurring theme of that occurs in these pastimes. And also the other thing I also very much liked kind of contemplating while you were speaking is that discontent with the material world results in spiritual upliftment and reconnection with Krishna. And you see this in all these pastimes that are occurring of these great personalities. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada.
So very nice lecture, Prabhuji. So I was thinking of Amba's example, right? So a genuine injustice happened to her. Like she had a life, she could have got married, all that got disrupted, right? She went to the right I don't know, but she went to an authority. I don't know if the authority is right or not, right? She went to Parshuram. Now the authority failed to provide the justice. I mean, whatever justice she expected did not get delivered. At that point in time, she should have just let it go for her own happiness. I mean, what should she have done? Because the authority has not really done anything, right?
The authority tried.
Could not.
To the point of a battle. The authority
was in
somewhere you to
good
stop.
best.
Somewhere you to stop, right?
Right.
And consider that maybe this is what I deserve.
Yes.
I deserve this. Maybe some action of my past life. Why other two sisters, did not go through, had to go through this. Only I had to go through something like that. And somewhere we just stop it. Right? It's like saying somewhere it should be my Supreme Court. After this, there is no other court remaining. And I just accept. Okay. That's my fate. So that's my destiny.
If you go to an authority, trust the outcome, whatever happens, and move on.
Yes. It's not always the situation will not come out the way you want it to be. The result may not be the way you want it. Just destiny sometimes, right? Go. Hmm. 11th canto, it says, Asha hi paramam dukkham, nirasha hi paramam sukham. When you don't keep any expectations, you'll be a happy person. But when you have expectations in this world, your expectations will always not get met. And then it causes frustration. So not keeping wrong expectations, undue expectations. And at a level, don't keep any expectations from anybody. You're a happy person in this world. I didn't expect any respect. Little bhi mil gaya to bahut hai. But when you demand or when you want much, you'll not get it always the way you want it. Right? Okay, thank you very much. Bhagavad Mahapuran ki jai.
Prabhuji, there's a question online.
You have a question?
There's a question online.
One question. Okay.
Madhavaran Prabhu is asking, why did Parikshit Maharaj act the way that he did? Normally, the king will respect a sage. So why is it in this case that he does not do that?
Like I said yesterday, through Arjuna, why did Arjuna behave like that? Krishna made him. Because Krishna had to reveal Bhagavad Gita. Now, Krishna has to go, Krishne swadham upagate dharma jnana dibi saha kalau nashtam drisham esha purana arka udinoditaha. Now, Krishna has to reveal Srimad Bhagavatam. So he has to make Parikshit Maharaj go through a situation which was like not expected. This behavior. But what happened? When Parikshit Maharaj goes through something like this, then he will renounce, then he'll go to the banks of river Ganga, and there Shukdev Goswami will come, and their conversation is what Srimad Bhagavatam that we have now. So some divine arrangement behind it. Right? But when we go through such a situation, we should not say divine arrangement. Right? Something divine is going to happen. That's why I misbehaved. Don't connect divinity like that. If we kept Bhagavad Gita as it is for a long time, then you are not the divine person, the chosen one. Right? Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for such a wonderful lecture. Thank you for visiting our home. Thank you, devotees, for coming. We're very happy that you are here. I wish we had more congregation, but I think This is great. Thank you for coming in. Have a great prasadam, and please enjoy your evening.
Tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. we have a program. The topic will be MASK Mosque. And Prabhuji is going to elaborate on that. The program will be held at Shilpa Mata and Ashutosh Prabhu home. They would like to invite you all.